and welcome to LIVIN XL here at the Waypoint Cafe in New York City, because for some reason people seem to think we're in Los Angeles. I'm Goldenboy, your host, and I am actually joined by two incredible individuals. We have LyricOfWisdom and Futureman, two streamers here in New York City. And the point of the show is about basically gaming and esports in New York City. All the incredible people who make things happen, why we continue to stay here in New York City, and what we want to see in the future for, you know, just our overall communities, right?
Did you look at me on purpose when you said future? Is that
to the future we
yeah,
go.
right?
Yeah, I'm a little mad that you didn't bring the outfit, but it's okay.
Did Superman always walk around in his...
Actually, yes, he does, because he always has it underneath his clothing. So
how do you know that? I mean, just you don't know. I mean,
imagine you take it off and you're just full nude. And that's it,
right? Oh, I forgot it today. Oh.
That's certainly not esports.
So, you know, I guess what would help is to start with the the audience, let them know, you know, where you broadcast from here in New York, and how long you've lived here as well.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm a lifetime New York State resident,
but right, that's what's up.
I moved to New York City 4 years ago for school, and most of my content creation, which I haven't been doing for too long, but I've seen like an amazing amount of growth in. I actually do it in my college dorm room, and I'm finally graduating in about 2 weeks.
How's your internet?
All right.
It's
wait, hold on. I just realized you're graduating in 2 weeks, and I asked you, how's your
internet?
So that's my bad.
No, it's
congratulations.
Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The internet works.
It works.
That's all I can ask for. So yeah, I've been streaming for almost a year now. I'm an affiliate broadcaster working towards partner, and I just signed my lease last week to live full time here, so I'm never leaving.
Really? What? Don't you don't say? You don't got to give us a whole address, but I'm just what neighborhood?
East Harlem.
East Harlem. Okay.
Not too far away from here.
Okay. Nice. Wow. I cannot even imagine streaming from a dorm room, because you hear like all like the horror stories.
Oh yeah, I definitely have some pissed off floor mates sometimes.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, you got to go late into streaming. Like, you know, I'm a full-time college student, so, you know, 9 to 5 I'm in the classroom, but, you know, get home, take a shower, get ready, go live, wake up, do it again type thing. Yeah. It's a real grind.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the struggle. And I know, I mean, I've known you for a long time now, but I know that you're not from New York, but how long have you been in New York?
I've been here probably around 5 years. Is that like a yeah? Is that like
that's acceptable?
That's good enough for like that was a very like.
When can you claim you are a New Yorker? What's the time frame?
I think if you have if you have a permanent address.
10 years? Oh, 10 years.
You got to be committed. Okay, I'm halfway there.
Halfway there. Well, you know, it's like the How I Met Your Mother's episode where it's like you kill a cockroach. What was the other one? Or if you cry in the train, or you have like a public event in the train. And what was the other one? Oh, and you got to meet a celebrity. Mostly like, and Maury Povich doesn't count. So.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
Does that
apparently
happen?
He's everywhere.
But fun fact, Nick Jonas was going to the Met Gala, and he actually got on the subway at my school station.
Really?
And a bunch of people flipped out, but I had left school an hour before he did that.
A lot of people think it's like wild when like a celebrity goes into a subway, but for us as New Yorkers, it's just a mild inconvenience.
Yes, always.
Like,
it is.
Everyone's a mild inconvenience on the
everyone
subway.
is a mild inconvenience, actually. Slasher, who will be here later on today, talked about the fact that they canceled the train on the way here.
That's why I took an Uber. You can't trust the New York City subway.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
You never know.
I agree with that. So, Futureman, so you've been here for
5 years. Lived in Queens for a while. Now I'm in Brooklyn. The hater on of Queens over here. Your brother lives in Queens.
Yeah.
They were right before it started. The pizza argument that was going down.
Yeah, you don't have
Brooklyn
Queens
pizza or Queens pizza?
No, it's either Brooklyn pizza or Bronx pizza. It's a well-known fact.
He's not wrong, sorry.
Manhattan?
Yeah. Oh,
John's
I got a lot of groans. There were some groans
right,
here.
yeah. There people are shaking their head over there.
Okay, this is another question for the panel. What's the best pizza place here? Like, what's your favorite pizza place? Because I feel like no one has the same place. Yeah, you see?
Joe's Pizza.
I've never even heard. Okay, Joe's. I heard Joe's before. Gino's?
John's on Bleecker is my favorite spot. Sbarros.
Okay, I know Lombardi's.
Did you just say
Someone
Sbarro?
say Sbarro?
You don't say Sbarros in New
Somebody
York.
back there
honey.
said it. I don't know. Who said it.
Nuh-uh, no
okay.
Sbarros here.
So what has been, I guess, what have been some of the challenges you've had creating content here in New York?
Well, when you said you were streaming from your dorm room, that sounds like a nightmare because with so many people around you, I feel like, and I'm wondering if this happens to you, do people get pissed off? Because
There's a giant sign on my front door that says, "Don't talk in front of my door," from the hours of 7:45 to midnight.
that's
Wow.
actually incredible because you're getting pissed at them. I thought that they would be getting pissed at
No,
you.
no.
Oh, really? Okay,
No.
because I have, because it's a little bit of a tight fit here in New York City. We got to fit everybody in here, and sometimes the walls can be a little bit thinner, and I've just had constant situation where either I'm feeling like I'm being loud, and even if they aren't saying anything, I'm yelling very loudly right now. And I even last year had a run-in with my new current neighbor.
And that was live, right?
That was live. That one happened live. Answered the door, and he was like, "You hear me now?" And I was like, yeah, I hear you. You're right.
Gonna learn today.
His eyes. I was like, oh my god. He was
wow.
very upset. He let me know it, and he was yelling, "You're gonna stop! You're gonna stop!"
I remember watching.
And so,
this.
like,
It's very uncomfortable.
I was like, "We're not gonna stop." No, we're not. Like, here's the thing. I have this place with a basement, so that I'm a little more secluded, and he has tenants living in his basement, which he's not supposed to have tenants living in his basement. They have a dog. That dog barks when it hears me. So they're the one. They're wrong. I'm right. They're wrong. Legally,
you were right,
and I pointed that out. He, said some descriptive language to me, and proceeded to go on his way.
Yeah.
But what I did is I took some quotes from that conversation and changed them into my sub alerts and my donation alerts.
That
and
is
so
genius.
when
That
someone
is
subbed, he'd go,
absolutely
"You're gonna
genius.
stop," and I'd be like, "We're not stopping, baby. We're not." So he probably made me a pretty good amount of money there. So shout out to my neighbor. Thank you.
And you're not there right now?
I am still there.
Oh, you are?
I'm sorry.
There's some different tenants.
So you never stopped?
I didn't stop. I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop.
You can't stop.
No, I kind of adjusted my stream times to be a little bit earlier. That was the game plan anyways. He's probably like, "Yeah, I intimidated him." But like I'd already been talking about, instead of going from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., I've now got like a 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. generally schedule. So even though part of me was like, I'm just going to keep streaming all night long, whenever I want to, that was already going that way anyways. So we haven't had any other issues, but still not stopping in 2018.
You can't.
And,
I can't believe that a grown adult
it was
would come to you and say that.
It was crazy. In 1 second, you're like in the zone, streaming, having a good time. Next second, and someone's yelling in your face.
Yeah. And that can take you completely out of like your zone.
Yeah.
Any interruption at all can just be like if you start dropping frames, it's like.
Oh yeah, the whole vibe of like the stream, and
it kills you.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
The tech issues.
Those aren't.
You're probably that's just like you'll have a great stream.
God no.
You go to bed, wake up the next day, take care of some business, and then boot things up. You're like, nothing works now. Okay, that's fantastic. Like the internet's broken, the microphone just decides not to work. It's really just a constant sort of battle with like, not only are you the person in front of the camera, like trying to just be entertaining and have fun, but you need to know how to make all this stuff work. There's a lot of information out there, fortunately.
Yeah, definitely.
But everybody's setup is a little bit different, so you might be running into an issue that you can't really figure out why something's going wrong, right?
Right? There's no magical search that'll like fix the problem right away. I've had that problem before. I mean, when I lived in the Bronx, like my internet line was in another lady's backyard. It was this like older lady's backyard. So I used to call Optimum and I would be like, hey, so, you know, I'm having a lot of internet problems. My wife who's here, she like remembers this very much so.
Yeah.
So then the Optimum people were like, yeah, we'll send a tech over to go fix it. And then like the techs will actually went outside to my backyard, looked and saw the line, and he was like, wait a minute, this line is going to that lady's backyard. and then you'll look, and then you'll see like it was this giant pole, and I kid you not, I was like, we're smack dab in the middle of her backyard.
Right.
And the fact she never complained about it is beyond me, right?
Right.
And the pole would be standing straight up, and in it was just a jumble of cables. Like,
the old ball of cables.
Yeah, the old ball of cables. But like this was like actually a hazard, you know, like really bad. And then I would have to then go to the lady's house, go to the old lady's house, and she had no idea like what was going on. Knock on her door, her neighbor, it's like bratty kid, and I'm like, excuse me, Miss Peterson, I would like to have this Optimum guy come in. She would come in, he was like, why are you trying to let him inside my house? I was like, I'm not trying to, I just need this fixed. I'm sorry, please don't hate me.
The tower in your backyard.
Yeah, so then we finally sent the Optimum technician back there.
Yeah.
And then he just straight up looked up and was like, I need to send a professional. I was like, aren't you a professional?
No.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing? That's your job.
Backup. He needed backup.
So
for
yeah, he needed backup.
Situation. Yeah.
Luckily they ended up fixing it, but like years later, I mean, we moved out since then, but man, it was like
Constant
quite a struggle,
issues.
you know, because it's New York and like we're just not very like New York it wasn't built for our kind of culture and lifestyle.
Absolutely
it really
not.
wasn't like you know like our internet line is our internets our
internet
line
those
is
internets
still, those aren't internets are still behind. It's still pretty bad, right? And
it
doesn't
can
seem like
be.
it's getting any better.
I spent a lot of time on the phone. You start at tier 1. And then they're like, unplug it
and
put it
back in.
I'm sure we've all had that same problem in the past. Yes.
I did very recently, like, I changed internet providers, and then there was a red light. The technician left. I started the broadcast. He was going to be coming back, I thought, and never got back to me. And we have quite the interesting text back and forth.
Oh, yes.
Let me go ahead and just refer directly to it. I ended up getting on the phone with them, and the guy basically was like, you need to plug it into this part of the router for me.
Really?
So sometimes
You're the
usually it's like, okay, well, I assumed that the technician guy would have done that in the first place.
Would have like connected it in the appropriate spot.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, the red light's on. I don't have to go in there and like switch the thing. But the technician left without just being like, you know, and plugging it in there.
That's just a common issue in like when we deal with the crap that we deal with, especially trying to go live.
So,
okay, this is great.
Oh my.
Here's my conversation with Mike. He left. He said, this is the number I'm leaving. Lots of spelling errors. And I will text you about what's going on. I'll be working to get you up and working. We're sounding good. We're starting off good. I said, hey, Mike, just wrapped the broadcast for the day. That was later that night. And he got back to me the next day. That's great.
Okay. So wait. No, he actually said that.
He just said, that's great.
That's great.
So I waited a couple days, and I was like, hey, Mike, should I be hearing from another technician, or are you coming back to get me up and running? And then he said, stay where you are. And I was like,
don't move.
I was like,
that's actually, I see it right here.
It says it right there.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm at the Yankees game.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stay. I imagine me like staying there and they'll be like, sir, you have to leave. And I'm like, no, Mike, the technician here, I need to stay. I said, not available today. Tomorrow works. He texted me the letter A.
So Mike is a robot. Confirmed.
So I was like, you know what? B. I texted him the letter B.
Oh my God, you did.
And then he stopped. And that was it.
You should have just sent him K.
I was just like,
K.
no, I want to do the alphabet. I thought we were going to go back and forth. I was like, let's see where this thing goes.
I love when Twitch chat does that.
But my
they try
gosh.
really hard.
Ugh.
Yeah, they can't get the alphabet.
So I did end up calling, and he was like, okay, is it plugged into this? And I was like, well, it's got to be, right? And then it wasn't plugged it in, it's working. So the internet issues can definitely happen. And that's something that can happen anywhere and can be a big time issue. I see a lot of streamers constantly having problems, and that's one of the most frustrating things to deal with because it's just outside your control.
So before we go into questions with the audience, if there's any question for you, is why you said you lived in New York State, but now you're living in the city. Why did you make that decision to stay here in the city? What drove you to do that?
So I originally was going to school all the way upstate near Canada, right? And I tried to start my own gaming scene because at that point I had been kind of bit by the esport bug. Like I was always up watching VODs, and like I couldn't get anybody to hop on the train fully with me. So I left. So I just left that school and I came here because there's 8 million people in this city, really. And you know, you can find something for anything. So I started competing in the FGC in Super Smash Brothers Melee, and I found like my good family there. And then, League was super big back then, so everyone was just like, yeah, we're gonna meet up at this bar and we're just gonna watch League. And I was just like, this is what
sounds awesome.
This is what I was looking for.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This is it. And then, the Venom started this, and now we're just like all a big family here. And like, whenever you walk into Waypoint, it's like hugs, high fives, like how you doing type stuff, and you just can't get
like Cheers,
that.
but
Yeah,
for
exactly.
video games.
Like you can't get that in a lot of.
Yeah.
You can't get that like in a lot of places in New York City. Like there's so many people here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And same for you, I'm assuming.
I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, I think that when I moved here, I actually didn't know Twitch existed, and then I remember finding it and being blown away. I don't know if anyone like remembers their first time on Twitch. I was like,
this is so cool.
Wait, is this like MySpace of games or something? I just like didn't know.
dated
I didn't know what I was looking at.
We both dated each other one after the other. That was crazy. I said cheers. You talked about MySpace. We're officially old.
Okay.
We're old. Yeah.
Wait, we are?
Yeah, we technically were old. I know like Slasher's here, so he was here back when I think the internet first started. So I think, I think that's great. So
we've been around the block.
Yeah,
a couple times. But
no,
yeah,
awesome.
it's just I remember thinking to myself, this is unlike anything I've seen before, and to see chat lighting up, I was like, that's something I want to be involved with. And now there have been tons of meetups. I've got friends from Twitch that live in the city and in the surrounding area. Actually, one of the first people that sort of helped me at the very beginning was somebody who was online answering a lot of questions. I was like, can you check my stream out? Like, when I was first doing this whole thing, like built a PC, was like, I'm going to stream. And he happened to live like 15 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to be his best man at his wedding next year. So it's like, you never know. Man. That's pretty. I mean, it's insane.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of gaming. It goes far beyond just like watching a game together and having fun. Like, you develop these like real life connections through Twitch. Like, I'm very invested in my viewers, and they tell me everything, and I tell them everything, and it's a very like nice closeness that you can develop with your chat.
No, it's pretty awesome.
What's cool is like, you have only been streaming what, 1 year?
10 months.
Okay, so.
Oh boy.
And the people we're hanging right now too. That's like your
that's
like
the
your
core,
core base, and
they know they're my core. I tell them all the time after every broadcast. I'm like, you guys are great.
Yeah, and that makes it that much better because those people are going to be with you and they're going to grow with you and you're going to see so much more of the incredible content that you create, which is awesome. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
And any questions? Anyone have any questions that they don't be shy. We're chilling out here.
With streaming in general, both of us?
Yeah. There's a mic over here too. Yeah.
There is.
There you go.
Here, what's your worst experience with streaming?
For both of us, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Worst experience? It's great every single day, no matter what happens. I think that I guess it just goes back to technical issues. There was a while where I tried to load so many images into OBS that whenever I would start my stream, there would be a massive desync, and I couldn't figure out why, and I don't think anybody else was trying that. So for like a couple weeks, my stream was just messed up.
You just didn't know why.
And I didn't know why. And then this wasn't the worst experience, but I'm going to talk about this one because it can happen. One time I was streaming and I was like, how's everything sounding, guys? And everybody's like, it's awesome, Futureman. And I was like, okay, we're doing great. And then I remember checking back later. I was like, the sound seems way off. And I went and took a look at the microphone and I was like, that's backwards. That is turned the wrong direction right there. How could they tell me it sounds good? Never 100% trust everybody that sounded good. Okay, double check your systems. Because sometimes you might be streaming with the mic backwards.
How did you? Okay. What about for you, Larry?
Okay, so technical issues, obviously, but I think like the worst thing that I've come across are the people that want to help, but they tell you to do something you don't want to do. Like everyone tells me, "Oh, Lyric, you're gonna get partnered if you stream Fortnite all the time," and it's just like, I'm gonna do what I do. You know, I want to build my base on like what I stand for on Twitch and like what I like on Twitch, because if you don't like what you like, it's very easy for your chat to call you out on it.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Well, I'd say that like if you're having fun, that's going to be a more fun environment. So like just to play a certain game as a means to an end.
Doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense.
But I also streamed on an i3 for the first 8 months of my Twitch career. So I could not play any FPS games, and now I just built my own PC, and now I can stream Overwatch. So
nice. There you have it. There you have it. Any other questions for folks out there? Yeah? This is Ghost. He is my best friend and kind of a douche. I did it already.
Are you question for both of you guys? So since your entire time streaming on Twitch, what's like one really fun moment that either a viewer or a fan has really like done for you? Like something that really stands out for you guys?
I'll go first. So I was a part of St. Jude Play Live, which is the Twitch, collective to raise money for kids with cancer. And, I consider myself a smaller streamer. And because I've only been doing it for almost a year. And, I said to myself, if I raised like $100, I'd be okay. But then, I had my mods telling me, you can totally do 1,000. So I was just like, okay. So, you put it on, you're just like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. And we hit 1,000 in 2 weeks worth of stream time. And
awesome.
That was crazy because it helps people. And the look on my face, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we did it. I had like a mental breakdown after my stream. I'm like, I'm so proud of what did I do to deserve this? Heartwarming.
Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome to see the fact that people not only want to support the streamer, but there's so many other good causes that can happen. And I know, and you've seen this around Twitch, but early on we did a Money for the Mods Day. Which the mods do so much behind the work. Yes. I mean, they help a lot.
They hold your community together really sometimes.
And I don't know, we raised a ton of money. I was like, I'll start off, I'll throw in $100 just to get things going, and then it was just like, boom, we hit over 1,500 the first. It was just. And the mods were like, oh, we're rich,
Look at all that esport money.
That's awesome.
So it's cool to see the people in your community also respect and want to help out the other people in the community as well.
Awesome.
So.
Cool. Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So where can people find you guys?
So you guys can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/LyricOfWisdom, Twitter and Instagram also, LyricOfWisdom.
Got to keep the brand consistent, girl.
Yep.
I respect that.
You know it.
I'm a Futureman Gaming. That global emote, Futureman. And
I'll make it.
Boys.
Right?
Listen, I'll make it up there one day.
You will. You will.
That's the right attitude. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, streaming Monday through Friday. And sometimes on the weekend too. Variety. We were talking about this before. I've been having people come up and say, seeing my Twitch stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh man, you Twitch streamer?" And I'm like,
God,
"Oh yeah,
that happens to me in class.
I love
all
it.
The
it's
time.
actually really awesome.
Yeah.
It's been blowing up so much. I'm all be like, "Yeah, I am." They'll be like, "Oh, what do you stream?" And for the past week and a half, I've been streaming this game Frostpunk, which is like a city simulation survivor, very strategic. And I'll start talking about it and explaining it, and they're kind of like, I'll be like, and Fortnite.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh yeah, dude, Fortnite. Okay, sick, cool. I'm like, I'm just gonna lead with that from now on.
Yeah, that's how you lead with it, and then you go into the deep stuff.
Right, then you go into
Come
the
on,
deep
man.
stuff, right.
Rookie mistake.
I know.
Rookie mistake.
On Wednesday, I did like a presentation in one of my classes, and I like did this whole presentation. And I was like, "Any questions, guys?" And they're just like, "What do you stream on Twitch?" I'm like, "Variety, mostly anime, RPG games, and Overwatch." And they're like, "Sick." I'm like, "Okay, can I sit down now?"
That's awesome. All right, well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And, you know, everyone's going to be sticking around, so if you guys have any questions or you just want to chat it up, it's perfectly fine. Coming up next, though, we're going to have Mr. Bitter. He is currently working with the NYXL events team, as well as Slasher. I can't believe we got him out here. He makes an appearance and will see the light of day. So that is going to be coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. And we'll be back in like 2-3 minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Woo. Hey everybody, welcome back to Livin XL with Goldenboy here at the Waypoint Cafe in New York City. I'm now joined by Mr. Bitter and Slasher, two very prominent individuals in the esports scenes. We talked to some content creators to start to show off, but now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of some esports. Now, Slasher, you've basically, like Scoots, you were here when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, talking about esports to the masses, to the wide audience. You, DJ Wheat, Sir Scoots, ancient. I'm going as far back as I possibly can.
Scott is over 100 years old.
Yeah, Scott is his fact. But you found the elixir of youth, though, I will say. You know, you still have your flowing hair.
Yeah.
It's the hair. It's the hair. And then, Bitter, you were former StarCraft caster, worked at Red Bull. Now you work at events in NYXL.
That's right.
Welcome to New York, man.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So why, when they approached you about the job, what were your immediate thoughts? And also, I guess, concerns coming to New York from you were in LA, I believe, right?
Yeah. I was in Santa Monica. Immediate thoughts were, man, it'd be really cool to come and try to build esports in New York. As well as concerns, I think, man, this is a big place. It's a fast place. Things happen here like way quicker than they do, I think, anywhere else in the world. And I think you just got to be really careful. You got to get it right. You got to be really honest about it.
Yeah,
I think,
it makes a lot of sense.
I think like being the non-New Yorker, like here in New York, to make esports happen, like that's a real,
feels weird.
Yeah,
does it feel weird?
It's a hard cross to bear.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And Rod, how long have you've lived here your whole life?
Yeah,
right?
Born and raised.
Yeah, you were offered jobs West Coast, so I believe, right?
Yep, I refuse every single time.
Why
to
is
stay
that?
in New York. I refuse CBS to stay in New York. I refuse ESPN to stay in New York. And I refuse the Score to stay in New York because it's New York, man.
Yeah.
I mean, San Francisco's great, and Toronto's really cool, and Bristol I have no comment on. But New York, you just can't beat it. I mean, why would I want to?
No, it makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, it's kind of the same thing for me. Although I did move to San Francisco for 2 years with my wife, and my wife just booed. Did you really just boo? Come on. Shout out to my wife. While I was there the entire time, and I mean, no insult to anyone who lives in San Francisco.
Mad disrespect coming.
No disrespect, but San Francisco is kind of like just like a mini version of New York, right? So it was like being there, and you were like, oh man, it kind of feels like it, but the whole time you're like, but it's not, and that's kind of like when we had the opportunity to move back, it just kind of seemed like a no-brainer. But I think the weird thing is that for how big of a city this is and how many people are here, there are not a lot of opportunities in New York. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think there are opportunities in New York. I think they're just they're not as like the esports that happens in New York. It's a little bit more raw. It's a little bit more gritty. A little bit more community, right? Like it's happening all around the city. Right? We could go. There's probably 20 places right now where there's competitive gaming happening, like right now in the city somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's all very scrappy and grassroots and communal, and maybe even a little territorial. Rod, would you say?
I would agree. Yeah.
And I think one of the really cool, exciting opportunities, like, is there any way to get it together, to unify it, to get everybody kind of like marching in one direction. I don't know if that's possible though.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of people have tried that in the past to kind of like get everything unified and moving together for like the greater good of like a scene or whatever the case may be. And it makes it very difficult. You kind of go back to what I had said before. Why do you think there aren't? And I guess you said that there are opportunities, but I'm thinking of more like professional, like job, like what's going to give folks who want to work in this industry a salary, right? And I don't think like, running a local is a local for like Street Fighter or DBZ, like the way to that right now. Am I wrong, or trying to play devil's advocate?
I mean, one of the biggest problems we've had is that the gaming industry in general is in San Francisco and Los Angeles. I mean, that's where the tech industry is, and that's where majority of all gaming companies are. Yeah. From Blizzard and Activision, et cetera, et cetera. They're all on the West Coast. Now, on the East Coast, we've had MLG. Shout out to Sepso, will be gone in a little bit. Yep. And, that's kind of it. So for major companies here in New York, there really aren't a lot. I mean, Rockstar is here too. And there's like a few other developers located in New York City. But if you wanted to get a full-time job in video games, let alone in esports, you generally had to move on to the West Coast, which is why you were in Santa Monica for Red Bull. So the opportunities here in New York really weren't plentiful, especially in the olden days with esports trying to prove itself to be a thing to begin with. Now that esports, is here to stay and it's a mainstream thing and everyone is trying to get their money into it from investors and to people just trying to make a quick buck, there's a lot more opportunities to get a full-time job here in New York.
Fair enough, fair enough. Do you, what would you want to see happen here in New York? Like, your grand vision, your grand picture of how all this shapes out. What is the slasher pitch for why we should have, more opportunities, more esports, more events, more everything in New York?
I mean, New York City is still the best city in the world.
Damn right.
So, I mean, there's really not more...
Damn right.
...of a pitch that you need.
If you didn't think this was going to be a New York City ego stroke show, you're wrong.
That's what we do best, is a stroke our ego.
That's all we do, honestly. We
really
keep winning.
All we do here.
I don't know how to stop it,
And I mean, not really to stroke your ego either, Ben, because I really honestly don't want to do that ever. NYXL has done a great job of putting New York on the map in terms of esports. Yeah. And even as much crap as I gave Blizzard for the entire city-based approach to begin with, it's actually done quite well to help the local markets across the country and across the world. And New York is a big benefit.
Well, I think kind of covering that though, right? Because, the geolocations, stuff like that were kind of a hot topic, but it is very clear, at the very least here in New York, which is the thing that impacts all of us immediately. You look at like what the 5 Deadly Venoms created, the community that's kind of been fostered here. And also when they announced that we were going to be going to Barclays for the finals, the general excitement of coming to New York for an event was clearly there. What do you think as far as the future? Like, how does that continue on? How do you continue to ride that momentum coming off of those?
Well, I think Rod's right. I think the coolest thing that Overwatch League has done is the localization, like pushing it out in the markets and saying to the teams that, okay, now this place is yours, and now there's actually a reason to build something here, right? Yeah. If in the past, then all the opportunities and all the money and all the companies were on the West Coast, then now for the first time ever, we're saying, how do we build an audience in a place, in a city, in a location? And yeah, what 5 Deadly Venoms has done has been amazing, right? You've got this like super like loud and vocal fan group that's rocking colors and showing up and making noise. So like that, I think organically just continues to grow for as long as there's interest in it. But I really think that just to beat the same horse that I'm always beating on, right? Like the biggest and coolest and most exciting opportunity that we have is this opportunity to be inclusive of like all of the other, gamers and passionate nerds that are here in the city, right? Because we all have this like same shared like desire just to get together and to play games and to talk about games and to like and I like to hell with you, Slasher. Let's go settle it over there, like on the game. You know what I mean? Like this spirit of competition and community is what esports has kind of grown up on. And I think by localizing it and saying like, how do we tell the New York version of that story? Like,
Yeah.
how do we find who's the best player in New York? Who's the best Overwatch player? Who's the best Counter-Strike player? Who's the best Street Fighter player? Like, I do think that the opportunity to start a local, and to cultivate that, to grow that, is pretty amazing and staggering. And I think that there's guys out there in the city that are like, they've built businesses off the back of it, and they are still small, but they're growing in ways that they never have before because of like all of the new attention and all the new hype.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I immediately think about is Chinatown Fair, right? Which was one of the best spots to go. And, you know, while Chinatown Fair is a good spot, that's right. That was such an awesome location. Unfortunately, like, I think arcade culture has, you know, not just Chinatown Fair, but just arcade culture has taken a dip overall. But we've seen LANs and things like that, LAN centers pop up in New York in the past, but they've you know, kind of like struggled to make a footing. I was like talking to Gino, the owner of this place, of Waypoint, and he was very clear in that, like, he wanted to have a place where people can come and hang out, play games, play card games. But the funnier bit was, he's like, yeah, all these places call themselves cafes, but they don't actually serve coffee. They just have a Keurig machine, and then you pop a Keurig, and then that's it. So the quality wasn't like, it hasn't been particularly there. So you've seen those come and go, right? Those like LAN cafes of like way back in the day.
Yep. I mean, I grew up going to Web 2 Zone.
Web 2 Zone
down in the East Village, which was the premier New York City venue. I mean, one of my favorite esports memories was watching DJ Wheat cast on the street corner outside of the tournament where Fatality and Socrates went into overtime playing Quake 3. It was the WCG, I think, qualifiers way back when. So that was a great memory for me. And Craig Ravine, who's one of the heads of VSL now, and Team 3D, he was one of the main owners of that venue. So a lot of the major esports figures behind the scenes really did come from the New York community, and in that it was a great part of it. But I have to say, it was a long time coming to see that place die. I mean, it wasn't a surprise that it failed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well this place is doing. I hope it's doing great.
Yeah. I think they're all right.
But it wouldn't surprise me if it is also having trouble, just because of difficulty of trying to organize everything in New York City. I mean, one of the major problems to do esports here is that there is so much going on in terms of activities to do here. Now, the same could be said for the West Coast, but because they have so much infrastructure there from the early days, and they already have so many developers, game developers, tournament organizers, players, and the scene is way more advanced than here. They've had an easier time to build things like the esports arena in SoCal and the Forge, I think, in the Northern California, their local larger venue. I forgot. Foundry.
Yes.
So they've had like a little bit easier time. Here, we don't have that infrastructure. So because there's like 100 music venues and there's a concert every single day to go to, and there's plays, and there's and the movie scene is huge, and the media atmosphere is enormous here, having a center for gaming and esports has always been much harder to be profitable.
There's just a lot of noise
and longevity. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise out here. I totally understand that. And,
but I do think though that if we were to talk to Gino, he's around here somewhere, like really kind of ask him about like the business, like the core thing that Gino always talks about with me is like people just want a place to come and play, right? Like it's like PC gaming is not the most accessible form of gaming in the world, yet with esports doing what it's done, it's become like the sought after way to play, right? You watch your favorite players play the game, and you want to have that that same kind of an experience. And like, guess what? You can come down to the Waypoint and you can do that. And these machines are full. Like, they'll be full all weekend,
there are
right?
actually people playing right now. They are not paid actors. Just throw it out there.
Good meme.
Good meme. Keep it going.
But like, there are always people here playing, and I think that there's no other place in New York quite like Waypoint, but there's probably 20 other PC cafes across the city that also stay pretty full, and people are coming out, and they do just want that experience.
Well, I also think too, I could be way off base here, but I grew up in a very poor neighborhood in the Bronx, and we did not have access to PCs, right? I didn't get my first PC until I was like, I think 17 or something like that. Like I was just playing console games like the entire time, whether it was like Genesis, the Dreamcast, you know, got to get that Soul Calibur 2 in.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, moving on to like the PlayStation or the Xbox. And like that's how I played. PC gaming as a whole, though, I think now has gotten so much bigger that I feel like but because it's still expensive to like build a rig and
spend $2,000.
Exactly, especially now with the price of graphics cards like shooting up. You know, shout out to Bitcoin miners. I think now more than ever, there's like an opportunity for this kind of market because I think more and more the games now are just that much better now, right? You could play Fortnite, you could play Overwatch, you could play, you know, Diablo if you wanted to get that RPG grind going on, or some kind of MMO game. There's a bunch of them out there. So I don't know. I think that there's like a little bit more like justification for these kinds of experiences.
No, I think so. I think a lot of the stigma's gone too, right? Like I've talked to Craig about the old days of running that LAN center, and like it was a lot harder back then because like the internet was also pretty new, and we were just learning how to like police it, right? And like, you remember all the terrible shit that you did on the internet as a young person, like however many years ago, right? Like now, like just the software to run a place like this, like it makes the business possible.
That's true.
Yeah, Ben, nothing bad happens on the internet anymore. I mean, the 2 points I'll say to that is, one, because of what you were saying in terms of like the neighborhoods in New York, the fighting game community is probably the most prominent competitive game community in New York because of that. I mean, Chinatown Fair is the best example. It was easier for an arcade culture to thrive here, and with all the different diversity of New York City, the fighting game community especially was what was built from New York. I mean, Justin Wong's whole legacy and rise really came from New York before he sold out to go to Southern California. and live a life out there.
Calling you out, Jay Wong.
And two, I mean, why this is now like working Waypoint Cafe is the return to LAN cafes has happened in the last few years. I mean, for the entire, I would say, last decade, LAN cafes in general have died out across the entirety of the United States. It really has only continued to thrive in Korea and in China, where it has always been a big deal. But now PC gaming, it has been on a resurgence for probably since Twitch and streaming really got going in 2009 to 2010. So for the last 8 years, it's gotten a lot bigger. And because PC gaming has made a very strong return, now cafes are possible to make their return and to be profitable so that they can live on.
Just so actual coffee, like what they do here at the Waypoint Cafe, please, so I could be filled up in my cup. All right, you know, Gino's got this crazy lemonade. Just got to push the lemonade. Where you at, Gino? He's got to push the lemonade. That's right, baby. Oh, he's in the back over there, but he's grinning. He's smiling ear to ear right now.
G Fuel?
No. Do not mean that at all.
They're a New York company.
They're
one of
those
New York companies you can go work for. Definitely ethical business practices.
There you go. Didn't hear it from here. Heard it from there. So let's get some questions. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, and then here we go. We got Lyric. What's up?
So I'm actually talking to a friend right now who wants me to ask this to you guys. So my friend is super into esports and wants to get involved, but does not code, does not draw, is just kind of like a fan who just wants to be involved. What's your best advice to that type of person?
I could speak as a person who has no talent. I could say,
okay.
So I don't have any artistic background, although I went to school for graphic design, lol.
Just throw that out there.
I don't have any coding or any of that knowledge, but I think for my perspective, and it's kind of cool because we all come from like different areas of the industry. I come from like that Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War kind of background, and boo to you. And the I think the thing was it was about finding like the guys who are making small like community grassroots competitions happen online. Like back in the day, we had groups like 360 Icons and stuff like that who were throwing tournaments. Another great way, and he's actually here today when he was talking a little bit later, is Mike Sepso, who, you know, MLG owned Game Battles. I know so many people who I met through Game Battles who are refs, mods, forum mods, or they were just moderators of games, like that came through that, you know? So it's like, look for those volunteer opportunities to kind of interact and meet folks. And then from there, you continue to grow and build. But it is not something that happens overnight. And especially nowadays, because it's so competitive. I don't know about you two, whoever wants to take this.
Yeah, all you have to do is get $40 million in investment and then buy game battles, and then easy job. No problems asked. So just like Alex, I also have no talent, and I'm pretty sure Ben
zero talent.
Also zero talent.
We're all just a bunch of talentless pricks who found a way into this.
Seriously, I didn't even go to college, and I barely got through Brooklyn Technical High School. I had to go to City As, actually, because I couldn't even get the classes.
Got a B-Tech over here. Another tech over there.
So really, and this is one of the questions that we probably get this question more than any other question. Like, how do we get into esports? Yeah. And I'll see what Ben wants to say. But the easiest answer is to just do stuff.
Yeah.
Really, just whatever you want to do. Yeah. Content creation, honestly, is probably one of the easier ways of getting into it, whether it's writing or having a podcast or doing video or doing YouTube, especially with the acceleration of social media nowadays. That's generally the way. But just doing stuff is how you get into esports. Whatever you love to do, whatever passion you want to do, you will just do it. More than likely, you will not get paid. You know, if you're just starting out, especially if you don't have experience in a professional career in a relevant, you know, comparative interest. But if you just get your foot in the door, you will get opportunities. A lot of people in esports are willing, because we all love this industry. We all got into it not to make money. Obviously, it's not something you do to make money. We got into it because we love competitive gaming. So if you want to get in, there's always a plethora of people that will help you out to get you into the community.
Yeah, 3 for 3. I'm going to say the exact same thing you guys said. Just do something. Just involve yourself. Find a thing that you care about and go spend time doing it.
Yeah.
If it's Overwatch, you know, like look at what 5 Deadly Venoms has done. They've come from nothing in such a small amount of time to being like the most recognizable fan group in Overwatch, period.
Yep.
And like, you got yourself involved because you started playing on game battles, and that's how you broke in, period, right?
Yeah.
Like I went to tournaments, and I started hosting tournaments, and that's how I got my start, just period, right? And Rod, it was the same for you, man. You were a competitor first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everyone here kind of just like competed, right? Like that was like that was like the opening to it, you know, and I got, to be fair, like everything that I have is based off of luck entirely. So I never can give anyone like a step-by-step, but I could see, I've seen a lot of people kind of start from, you know, scratch and then you figure out like how to make their way up. So I think those are like, that's like the best possible way. But number one, just find a passion, find something you like.
But there's something important though, Alex, that you, I mean, it's we can all joke and we have no talent, ha ha ha. But like the really important message is like, if it's something that you really care about and it's something you really want to do, you got to be consistent. Involve yourself and be consistent and don't stop. Like if you love it and if it's something you want to do, just do it.
Don't be Futureman's neighbor. Just don't stop. Period. What's up? What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Sam. Shout out to 5DV for being around. So quick question. You guys, with the Overwatch League Grand Finals happening in Brooklyn, you guys think there's going to be a future or a possibility that we see more tournaments, more finals, or possibly some sort of arena being opened up on the East Coast here in New York City specifically? I mean, we have the room, we have the fan base, we have the infrastructure, plenty of hotels for tourists constantly.
Yeah, you pitched me.
You guys,
I'm opening one up. No, I'm kidding.
I think there's absolutely cause for that. I think, you know, there's a lot of questions that we need to also try and answer. Like, how many people in New York want to go to an Overwatch tournament? Like, I'd love to know the answer to that question. And like, it's not super clear to me. I know that hundreds of people will show up for a watch party or for a meet and greet. But I'd like to know how many people would show up for an Overwatch tournament. Like maybe we should just do one here at the Waypoint one day and see, and that can be a first check.
Give me your money. I'll win.
Oh, come on.
Easy.
Yeah, that's true. I think that is a really good point that Ben brings up. We don't really we have to see what that appetite looks like And I think the finals are going to give us a really good indication of that. But we've had other events here in the past. Bear that in mind. There was an old convention that I used to go to called Digital Life. MLG used to host tournaments there back in the day. Then New York Comic Con, ESL started to host tournaments at New York Comic Con. ESL also hosted, I think, something in Madison Square Garden a little while ago.
Yep.
Madison Square Garden Theater, but still the interest is there. I think this event, though, in particular, is going to be significant because it's esports at Barclays, which I don't think anyone really thought, like in Barclays proper, not like in I guess one of those like theater halls, right?
Well, ESL has run the Counter-Strike tournament.
Did they do it
now,
at Barclays?
Yeah,
ESL
Barclays
won,
coming
yeah.
back this year.
Oh yeah, that's right. I wasn't here for that. I think it was in Poland.
And that was great. It was actually Street Fighter 5
Yes,
and
so
CS at Barclays
stand
last time.
corrected.
And it was packed, so it really do well. One thing that Ben just happened to leave out is that all the city-based teams in the Overwatch League are forced to create a venue.
Force is the appropriate word.
I mean, everyone has to get it together. Every city team has to create a venue in their city. So NYXL will be building something in New York somewhere to go to have all the games played. Now
it's going to be in Staten Island.
I actually,
really easy to get to.
No, listen here. As a New Yorker, do not defend Staten Island.
I absolutely believe that you could run a banging esports tournament in Staten Island. I think there's a ton of people out there that would love. Get out of here! Like there are people that live there that never get into the city, man. Like,
they can take a ferry.
Have you been to Staten Island yet? Ben,
have
you? Yes or no question. Have you been to Staten Island?
I've taken the train out to Staten Island. It's a very sad place.
The train doesn't go to Staten Island.
Well, you took a train to a ferry, then to another one train that runs through Staten Island. Listen here. Sorry, Staten Island. Anyone here from Staten Island? Oh, man. You want it so bad, he's not even defending it. That's how you know. That's how you know. All right, we got another question. What's up? Name, where are you from?
My name is Javion. I'm from 5DV, and I currently live in Brooklyn, New York. My question is, so on the topic of unifying esports, do you think more leagues should be doing the city base? So, for example, right now we have New York with an Overwatch team. What if we get a Call of Duty team, a Halo team, and we expand League of Legends teams where, as in, we have an arena in New York, and each team can play in that arena during different seasons. So one season will be Overwatch, next season will be Call of Duty, and Halo, and then for it. How do you think that would work out?
I think that's the dream, right? I mean, it brings a tear to my eye. I think I'd certainly love to see something like that. I think, frankly, that the Overwatch League is the big test, right? Like, can it work? Can it happen? Will this localization model actually bear fruit?
Yeah.
For like, if it was purely me and I had an infinite bucket of money, then yeah, I would build an arena and I'd run gaming events there every single day. And you know, it's just like, if you build it, they will come. That's something I kind of believe. Especially here in New York, because there are so many.
Staten Island, but yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We're doing an event in Staten Island. Dog.
Okay. Damn you, Ben.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So the Overwatch League really has been the biggest test of this model working or not. I mean, I was one of the most skeptical people of this working, considering esports in general is a very international-based industry, and I didn't really think it was going to all happen, but it's actually been pretty successful. Now, I will saying that the issues are that Riot is not going to work, most likely not going to work with Blizzard in terms of working together for the same venue of all of the cities.
Yeah.
So if that's going to happen, it would have to be with Activision and Blizzard titles, Call of Duty probably, and they've already talked about it in some of their investor reports so far, would probably be the game to most likely do that. I mean, Riot is the company to more than likely follow the same model, but Riot and Blizzard are not going to work together, in my opinion, anymore. And the game that has generally the biggest reach in the United States, which is Counter-Strike, and Valve 100% is not running any type of major league with franchising anytime soon. That is not happening ever. So we will never have city-based teams for what is generally the biggest game in America right now.
It is a very each game and each scene, it's very individualized. Like, you know, they kind of exist in their own bubbles. Each company exists in their own bubbles. So to have them kind of like all work together, it would be challenging, right? I mean, you know, you have certain instances where something like that could work. Like, for example, MLG operates Gears of War, Halo, Call of Duty, and as well as Overwatch. Possibility? Sure. Probability? I would say a little low. But I think that there would be more competitions in New York, though, which I think is the positive, and I think that is absolutely what is necessary moving forward for us to continue to have a thriving esports ecosystem here in New York City.
I mean, I kind of want to disagree a little bit with you guys and say that
snap, here we go. It's getting spicy.
While you're right to say that like Riot and Blizzard are probably not going to work hand in hand to build something together, like an arena is an arena, right? Like the Counter-Strike was played in Barclays, and now Overwatch is going to be played in Barclays, right? And I think one of the things that has prevented big esport organization in New York to date is just the infrastructure. The piece that we already talked about, it doesn't exist, or it's expensive, space is a premium, internet costs a lot of money. If the facility exists, if there's like an esports arena in New York that is modular and turnkey and it has everything that you need, then I can't see any reason why every game wouldn't want to be there.
It's true.
Because
business-wise, it makes sense to have a turnkey solution.
If you're going to have an event in a place, you got to have a place, you know, and so like build the best place and then program it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Last question, I believe, and what's up?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Jason, and I come from China. I'm a grad student in New York. I was attracted to NYXL because of there are many lovely and passionate New York fans here.
Nice.
And my question is that what would you consider as a plus in addition to enjoying the watch party here?
What would I consider a plus?
Yeah,
like a good thing about the watch parties?
Yes.
Oh man, I mean, what isn't a good thing about that? I mean, you guys. So I haven't had the experience of coming. I've had the pleasure of coming to a 5DV watch party yet, which I assure you I will make that happen very soon. But I know you came here for the finals, right? So I guess you guys can speak way more to that than I could.
I mean, the crowd is great. I've been able to post 2 videos now of NYXL winning both stages, and I will again once they win the championship at the end of the year.
Go.
So it's not going to be much of a problem there.
I didn't say that.
I mean, there really is
unbiased.
One of the best experiences of esports, just like traditional sports, is getting together with all of your friends and watching the team that you love, which is not the Shanghai Dragons. And get, you know,
they're gonna get a win.
They're going 0-40 unless they beat the Fuel.
Let's go.
They really are going 0-40. But they, you know, it's really great to be in a community all together and to cheer on the players and the teams that you love. And that is one of the best experiences of sports and why it is such a worldwide passion for, you know, all games.
Yeah. I think the social dynamic is just so important, right? I think if we're to be cynical for a moment, right? If you want to be a pro gamer, then like what is that path that you have to walk, right? And it's typically, you know, go home, close the door, click play, get matched up with like 9 to 11 random people that you'll never interact with again, and then half the time probably have kind of a toxic experience.
Especially if you're on NA East.
Especially if you're on NA East. But
just
like,
savages in the East Coast.
as soon as you take it offline, it changes, right? And you get these kinds of interactions, and like people, like the walls come down, and it's just about like fellowship and community and inclusivity. Like I think that when you take gaming offline, it becomes real in the same way that sports are real, and I think that it's important that we do that as much as possible.
Oh, very true.
That's how we build community.
Well, thank you so much, Jason, for the question. I don't know where he ended up going off to. Oh, there he is. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. So, I guess where can people find more of you, Slasher, on the internet?
You'll find me on the internet, I'm sure.
So modest.
You'll be able to do it. I'm running to be the United States Overwatch community leader. Because they need me to actually get this team together so they don't fail again.
What's your pitch? What's the elevator pitch for why you should be the community leader for the U.S. Overwatch?
Did you watch Kai the last year in the World Cup?
Oh, shade.
Then you really don't need anything more to know than to vote for me of why America is going to win.
Okay. It's like you give him a mic and he just goes places.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that one.
And for you,
keep
Ben,
your eyes on NYXL. We're going to be doing a lot of really awesome stuff here in the city.
Okay, awesome stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Coming up next, we're going to have the one and only Mike Sepso, one of the guys who founded Major League Gaming here in New York City. We're going to talk to him a little bit. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to LIVIN XL with Goldenboy. You're gonna notice things kind of changed a little bit. I'm in a different part, and I got to get like comfortable again. I don't know. I don't want you guys to see my gut. Anyway, so I'm now joined by Mike Sepso, who is the senior vice president at Activision Blizzard, but also one of the guys who started Major League Gaming right here in New York City. First question that I have is why? I know you guys are lifelong New Yorkers, but I mean, I remember those first offices were like downtown, and back then I'm almost certain that was not like very cheap. I always thought about that, like, man, those offices must be expensive over on 33rd.
Yeah.
I think you guys were like at 42nd or near 42nd at one point.
We were 42nd Street. We actually we started downtown in the financial district.
Okay.
We moved to Brooklyn for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then, yeah, then 42nd, and then 34th.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, what was the reasoning to have an office down in the city, like over there? Like, why not go to, you know, one of the cheaper parts in New York? Why do it? Yeah, Staten Island. Why not go to Staten Island? Why not go to Staten, you know?
You know, we had a big vision early, and you've known Sonny and I for a long time. All the other professional sports leagues or the North American ones anyway, are based in New York City.
Yeah.
And we wanted to project from a very early on that this was a sports league, that, you know, we could hang with the NFL and the NBA, and that was our vision 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Basically. So that was a big part of the reason. The other is just we always, you know, we saw this as a huge business opportunity, not just something we like to do personally, but this is going to be a very big business, and we wanted to treat it that way. Yeah.
So now you are the senior vice president over at Activision Blizzard, living that corporate lifestyle. Back when you guys started running those events, were you out in the trenches as well? Because I've always seen pictures of like Adam and Sonny. I've never seen pictures of you putting cables and stuff together.
Well, somebody had to tell them where to put the cables.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, early on, it was a startup, you know, like any other startup. We were scraping by. We didn't pay ourselves for a long time. It was very challenging. So, I mean, we're just not the kind of people that, like, if you notice, Sundance and I are not active streamers or things like that. Like, we don't sort of tell the story. It'll be in a book one day. Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of, like, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, and ramen for dinner.
A lot of ramen. Yeah, that's right. I got a couple
very
college
time.
people here as well who know all about the ramen lifestyle.
Yeah.
So now you have...
And I mean, like, cup of noodles, not that hipster $12 ramen.
Oh, yeah. No. We're talking about like 99-cent store.
Yeah.
You know, you go there, you get your garlic bread.
Yeah.
You know, your Texas toast in the 99-cent store. Pop that into the microwave.
And then,
that's dinner.
Yes.
Maybe some leaves.
Maybe a hot
dog. I don't
dog.
know. Yeah, maybe a hot dog. You know, get like some like older lettuce at the supermarket.
You chop up a hot dog.
You go to the bodega.
A cup of noodles. That's
exactly.
That's a good meal.
That's the game plan right there. Get what is it? The pork and beans and stuff like that. Throw that hot dog in there. Anything with a hot dog or Spam is actually the way to go.
All these things are available for $30 in some Brooklyn.
I know,
restaurant.
isn't that insane now? When I was in right before we left San Francisco, there was an artisanal toast place that opened up. And I don't consider Williamsburg to be a part of New York. And there, I think I'm sure you can find like some artisanal toast spot there where like the guy just crafts the absolutely perfect piece of toast. And it's like, that's not New York, man. Throw it into the damn toaster, put some cream cheese on it. Got to get to Philadelphia. And then from there, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, if you haven't made
lifestyle.
toast on your stove gas burner.
Yeah, exactly. You're clearly doing it wrong. So now... So what have you been up to as of late? Ever since the MLG got bought by Activision, and what have you been up to?
It's been a long journey over the past 3 years. So obviously it was a long time building MLG. I started this division, this kind of esports media division at Activision Blizzard 3 years ago, and kind of figured out the blueprint for what is now Overwatch League, and hopefully will be other leagues soon around our games. And then for the past year or so, I guess, since we really launched Overwatch out the door, I've been doing things like overall esports strategy, managing our big sponsorship sales efforts and things like that. So.
Was this always the vision? Was this always like, is this where you kind of saw yourself being in a position like this?
I think it's where we saw the company going, right? It's where we saw, you know, like unlike Slasher, I've always thought that this should be a city-based franchise system.
Okay.
Unlike most of the, I think, old esports guys. Although, it's hard for me to say old school esports guys because most of you guys worked for me at some point, right?
Yes,
like,
yes. Myself, Slasher, Bitter, we all worked MLG events, so yes.
And, you know, I'm like not as old as Scoots, but pretty close.
Yeah, yeah. I love how Scoots isn't even here, and yet we're still managing to find a way to rag on him.
Love Scoots.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, that's awesome. And well, I guess talking about that though, you know, city-based structure.
Yeah.
We're here to really talk about esports in New York.
Yep.
But you guys, while you guys operated your offices here in New York, you were all around the country, right? You used to run events here in New York. What were some of the challenges of actually operating an event here in New York when you guys were doing it?
Yeah, I mean, as like independent startup MLG, it was always just cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard. The Garden and even Barclays is a relatively new arena in New York City. Didn't exist when we started MLG, but you know, it's an expensive place to do things. And like you mentioned before too, New York is one of the rare cities on the planet where it's just 24/7 all the time. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
There's entire industries that are huge in the city that people aren't even aware of, right? Whereas if you're in San Francisco, everybody works in tech. If you're in LA, everybody works in entertainment.
Yeah. Out here we have so many different layers.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just always something to do, and it's difficult to do that. And then, you know, early on, esports was a young fan sort of game. It was a lot of people in high school and college who couldn't afford New York City hotel room rates and things like that. So it was easier to be in places like Dallas and Orlando and things like that.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, right? I think you know, it has to be very difficult when you want to plan an event because I mean, to be fair, that's actually how me and my buddy Ghost, like that's what we did, right? Like we went to MLG events. We went to the MLG event in Columbus. My first ever like MLG event was MLG Meadowlands, and it was actually myself, Ghost, and my other friend Assassin, who's a COD 4 national championship, Pac-Man, who claims it was a national championship. I don't think he was there. And you know, like we all kind of just like walked around and we're just really just taken aback by like this whole experience that you guys managed to create. And it wasn't like, I mean, you guys didn't really like reinvent the wheel. You just did things that worked. You know, you had the, you know, you didn't put out like crazy carpets and stuff like that. Like we just walked on the convention floor. Like it didn't really matter. You know, you guys just had this like really simplistic vision, and it just blossomed into something that was just like so incredible. So
I think
amazing.
At the time, thank you. At the time, and thanks for buying a ticket.
Yeah, no problem. I think I snuck in. I'm not too sure. Yeah.
At the time, you know, I think that was around the era that was sort of like the first wave of a lot of outsiders getting interested in esports. So there was a bunch of other entertainment companies trying to get into it, and they were, you know, what we always said is like they're making it sort of a game show, not a sport. And we always try to take the approach that this is a true sport. Let's treat it like that with that kind of reverence. So it's not really about, you know, thunder sticks and weird lights or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
Sour Patch Kids thunder sticks.
Yeah, well, those are cool.
Those are pretty dope.
Those are cool.
You know, but yeah, I mean, we didn't really think that it was going to go in that direction, and yet, you know, here we are. right? The Overwatch League and the arena, the Blizzard Arena is, if anything, is one of the craziest looking sets I've personally seen. I still continue to be impressed by it. Like, there are times where I'm at the analyst desk and, you know, I kind of just like see what's in front of me. And then every once in a while, I'll just like turn around and then I just see like these crazy lights. And I'm like, holy crap, that's behind me. Like, that's just, because it's nuts, you know, the amount of just work and effort that went into that. And I guess then, you know, in talking about visions, was that like, when you guys thought about the Blizzard Arena and, you know, thought about like how you wanted this thing to look, and going back in the day when we just used to use black drape and some pipe drape and some trusses or around, I mean, when you took a look at that, were you like, holy crap, like this is real?
Yeah, I guess it's probably been a slower build for me, so it wasn't as like an overnight craziness. But you know, I think one of the nice things about MLG being part of the Activision Blizzard family is you have the amazing resources of Blizzard and the you know, the vision and the attention to quality and detail and things like that, and also just, you know, the desire, I guess, or the culture based around not really putting something out unless it's the best. Right? And that's really been a fun part of being part of the Activision Blizzard family, is like you have resources and you have the capability and budgets and things like that, but there's also a huge quality control, and the whole culture is just built around putting out the very best product that you can. And I think that was the focus for it. So, yeah, I mean, I remember walking into that Meadowlands Arena. You know, it was one of the first really big events that we did. Like, there's many points in the last 18 years of my life where, you know, I walked into a room and was like, holy.
I was going to ask you, what was like your favorite event that you guys, you hosted hundreds of events. What was your favorite event? If you had to pick like maybe one or two, like put you on the spot.
That's tough. You know, it changes quite a bit. I don't know if I have a favorite. I have like memorable ones.
Most memorable.
Most of my memories are around things going really wrong. Right? Because, unlike everybody else, I haven't really been able to sit back and enjoy an MLG event ever. Right? And even now with Overwatch, I'm kind of always nervous that something's going to happen. But the first one that we ever did, and you guys were talking about LAN centers like Waypoint earlier today, there was a little one in the East Village, not too far away from here, that we actually did our first ever MLG event at. And it was an unmitigated disaster.
What went wrong?
Like
I
imagine something.
Pick a thing that went wrong.
Like, we didn't really know how brackets worked. If you can imagine Sundance and me with like an Excel sheet and some paper, trying to figure out who plays who next and stuff like that. That was a challenge. But you know what was the success of it was, I think that we had like over 400 competitors in 3 or 4 games.
That's insane.
And what we really tried to do was make sure that the best players in the country or the world were there for the games that we were competing in. And so, you know, that was where Halo really got its start with MLG. We had, you know, Darkman and all those old school guys.
Back when Walshy was 35 years old, which is crazy. You know, so
Walshy, well, and Xena was actually there. You know Xena, I don't know if everybody knows, who's now like a
she's like
Microsoft
working over now. No, I think she's at Bungie. She's at Bungie now. It's crazy to see like all these people. How is it for you?
Xena was like 12, I think. Not kidding. Like, she came with her mom.
So I mean, because you've seen a lot of us kind of like start from the bottom. I mean, I remember.
I have incriminating pictures of all of you.
I'm sure. Well, funny enough, I was I don't know what possessed me to do this last night, but I was, you know, laying in bed, and me and my wife were talking about today, and then I started just like scrolling through older pictures of Instagram, and one of the pictures that popped up was I was doing a broadcast at the MLG studio for Starhawk on the PlayStation 3. And but what's crazy about this is that, and the thing is, till this day, it still was a dream come true. Like, my name was like on the PlayStation blog. Like, I said this, and my wife showed me the picture. She was like, do you still think that this is like a dream come true? And I was like, hell yeah, my name was on the PlayStation blog. And that was one of my favorite blogs to like read. And that was because I was able to work with MLG, you know? So how has it been for you to see all these people that you've kind of like, you know, just raised, you know, like throughout the years?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's, you know, in some ways I feel like the cool uncle in esports. Like Scoots is sort of like the angry old guy.
Angry old guy, yeah. Gran Torino,
I'm like the cool uncle.
Okay, yeah, okay. Like the Hasselhoff of,
yeah, exactly.
You know, is he
big
cool?
in Germany.
I don't know. Yeah, big in Germany, but there you go.
No, it's awesome. You know, my side of the business has always been more on the business side of the business, right? But that's been great. Like, you know, Fwiz is now running gaming at YouTube, and Rishi's at Twitter, and you know, we have all these people that kind of were on my team at some points that are in important positions across the industry, and not just in business positions, but developer positions and all kinds of great stuff. And you guys on the talent side, who have all been, you know, even now when I look at almost any esports broadcast, somebody on screen was an MLG employee
at some point in time. Well, funny enough, you know, like running up to the event, Rohi emailed, who's here as well from the NYXL. He emailed, he was like, hey, I want to introduce you to Mike Sepso. and then your immediate response was, oh yeah, he used to work for me. Like, that was the immediate response after that. But yeah, I think I speak for a lot of us when we say, like, without MLG, like, none of this, especially for myself, none of it would be possible. So I think I'm always forever grateful, you know, for that. So, you know, fist bumps, you know, thank you. Do we have any questions, by the way, for folks in-house who want to ask? Yeah, name, where are you from?
I'm Jill. I'm originally from Queens, but right now I live in New Jersey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm kidding. What's up?
I was wondering, what would you say would be a good avenue for someone who's younger, like high school age, to be getting into esports on a professional level?
When you like, are you talking about as like an organizer or as a player, or as a player? Ooh, I mean, I think the good thing about esports is that you can kind of enter it whenever, right? There's never like a limit, you know, where I think that just is what makes it so great. You know, we kind of joke that there's like an age of which you retire, and it really doesn't exist, but you know, the age is like 25 and you're out of here. You know, I mean, it's a joke more so because there are plenty of people who are 25 and older. Was it Virtus Pro? I think one of the more famous Counter-Strike teams. There are a bunch of older guys on that squad. So, but I think at the high school level, I think it's about like finding people who are like-minded within your community and then trying to chase that together. And that's how I started. I actually found, I was in a Halo 2 clan way back when, and we had found out about this crazy thing called MLG. And we looked it up, and it was like, oh my God, we want to compete in that. So we like joined a game battles match. We got absolutely destroyed. I cannot emphasize that enough. It was like 50-2. It was so bad. And it didn't get any better, and it still hasn't. But, you know, like, but that's like where I started. I don't know any advice you'd have there, Mike.
Yeah, well, there's never been a better time to try to make it in esports as a player. I think there's so many more opportunities, and it's so much the formalization and kind of the structure behind things like Overwatch League and even LCS now make it a much bigger opportunity. But it's like any other sport, right? It's sort of binary. Either you're that good or you're not.
Yeah.
And
I knew I was not good at all.
Yeah. And it's how much are you willing to grind? And, you know, so I would treat it like literally like any other sport. You have to practice, you have to put in the hours and the time, and not just playing games, but you got to develop the skills, the fundamentals. And, you know, in most cases, esports is a team sport. And so getting good at communication and really being a team player is important too.
Yeah. What's up, man?
I'm Mark, also known as Taco, as my 5DV family knows me as. My question is piggybacking off of the previous question, the youth. So in regular sports, there's a lot of youth academies and areas where children can get introduced to the game, learn about the game, be taught how to play the game, and then grow. And that gives the opportunities for the team to recruit these children into representing them, sponsorships, and then history. Players like Messi, you know, started off playing in youth academy and then was recruited, and the rest is history, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that esports can do with all the evolution of technology, all the evolution of games, and the competitiveness and the competitive scene of esports? Is this an avenue that we can see us go?
I've heard, you know, rumblings of some of these academies and things like that getting started. I agree with you. I think every child in the world should have a copy of Overwatch. I think it's a good idea.
Oh, wow. Good sell. Good pitch.
Yeah. No, I think well, look, esports, unlike many traditional sports, is very accessible, right? So hopefully it's the entry point into esports is easier than it is for basketball or football or even soccer, I think. But the leap from I'm just a casual player to how do I train and get better and better and better, I think you're right. That's, you know, one of the things that's missing. Like, I grew up playing basketball and baseball. I had coaches all the time, even from 5 years old. So
yeah,
not, you know, that training element and the sort of mentorship and guidance is probably missing. But I'm sure, look, there's no lack of people starting businesses around the esports space right now. So I'm sure somebody's doing that.
Very true. Very true. Oh, dear God.
Oh, God.
Hi, sir. Your name and where you're from?
Rod Breslau, reporter.
Okay.
So, Mike, there was a report came out yesterday from Jacob Wolf of ESPN saying that Season 2 OWL franchises are looking between $30 to $60 million from Activision Blizzard into investors. And although I was skeptical of the $20 million price for Season 1, and I've said even yesterday that I think it can be kind of reasonable to expect this for Season 2, is there any concern that asking too high of a price, reaching up to the $60 million range, will scare away some investors from Season 2?
Well, I have $60 million, so I don't. But so I'm not an expert on this one, but I believe you do. So let's hear it.
Yeah, so I'm a Activision Blizzard executive, and we have not publicly disclosed any prices for these franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where Jacob got the information from. I've seen a lot of speculation about it. I don't think any of these
sources.
Sources
Per
were
sources.
quoted. Look, I think, I guess what I could say is, you know, we created a structure for esports that very much borrowed from traditional sports. So one of the things that I've always said for my history in this industry is we're not recreating sports, we're just creating a new sport. So don't try to change every single rule. We can use a lot of what exists in traditional sports in esports, and we can tweak it and improve on it and do things differently, but we don't do everything differently just because it's video games and not basketball. So I think that was an organizing principle behind the development of the Overwatch League. And I think, you know, across the board, it's been commercially successful. So without, you know, talking about specific numbers, we've done, you know, far bigger sponsorship partnerships than I've ever seen in my career. We've done lots of things just sort of bigger and better because the system is set up for commercialization without killing the sport. And I think we're seeing the success of that. So it doesn't surprise me that the franchise cost is going to go up. I can't confirm or deny whether that's true. I don't have any idea right now kind of what the price tag is, but I would assume that they're going to be more expensive than whatever they sold for the first time.
Quick follow-up. Seeing how Shanghai Dragons have gone so far into the Overwatch League, which has been less than good, and Blizzard's wanting to, you know, get more franchises, is there any concern of bringing in certain regions that have shown to not have that great of a player base, but wanting to get their regions into the Overwatch League may lead to a secondary Shanghai situation?
Is there any? Well, the one thing I would say is, you know, I think there's a desire from the league's perspective to try to get more franchises into places that we don't have a lot of coverage today. So it was always meant to be a global league from day one. You know, obviously there was a heavier concentration in North America for the first season, but there's a definite focus on creating some balance around the world and where our franchises exist.
I think that, you know, to kind of piggyback off of that, though, there are going to be multiple seasons of this thing, right? And you would ideally want to put teams in areas that aren't necessarily as popular in an effort to make them popular, right? Because that's like the underlying goal, you know, to just build this sport across the world, and that may require you to, you know, get teams in places that, you know, may not have like the best pool of players, but hopefully they like level up and advance.
Yeah, and in keeping in mind, there's no, you know, the players on a team of a particular city don't have to be from that city, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Come from anywhere.
Hey, I was just gonna say, as a New Yorker, one thing that we know we just want to win. We don't care how we win. We just want to win. The Yankees and the Mets are just all Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, okay? And we're okay with that. We're okay because, like, as a Puerto Rican, I'm like, hey man, you know, let's just get wins. That's all we care about. So that's all I gotta say on that subject. Okay, what is this, like the panelists asking questions time?
What's up, Mike? Just one question for you. Now that we're kind of in this new era of esports, right? What are you most excited to see here in New York? What are you most excited about for New York esports?
Well, I'm, you know, way predating my esports career, I am a huge New York sports fan. So, and I've been a you know, long-suffering Knicks fan for my entire life.
It's okay, bud.
I know.
It's okay. We're all here together. We're all here together. We're all here together.
But it's awesome to see, you know, my city represent in the league I helped create. So to have a franchise in New York that's absolutely crushing it, and sort of living up to that New York sports, I guess, you know, with the New York audience can be kind of tough. When a team isn't winning. And, so I'm glad that NYXL
shout out to the Knicks.
Shout out to the Knicks.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the struggle for God knows how long.
Yeah, I think the Yankees were just on like a almost 18-win streak. They lost one game, and everybody lost their minds.
Oh, well, the second the Yankees lose, it's a wrap, you know. And like the Mets, you know, they usually have a strong start at the beginning of the season. It's toward the end.
We're doing all right.
I know we got a Met fan over there. Probably a couple more Met fans. Single tier. It's okay. So any other questions, guys? Anything else? All right, so we're good. Well, you know, Mike, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, my dude. You're always a pleasure. Yeah, so that's going to do it for us here. We're here at the Waypoint Cafe. Have fun, interact, chat. But thank you guys so much for watching. And let's see if we do this again. If you want to see more of this, make sure you hit up at NYXL and, you know, follow their stream. You can check me out at Goldenboy FTW. Are you on Twitter still? Yes? Yeah. Okay. Sepso. For some reason, I thought it was Mike Sepso on Twitter. Okay. Sepso. Follow that guy. He posts memes. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching LIVIN XL. We'll see you later.